This is the All I Need Skate podcast. If you enjoy the podcast, please let us know by subscribing, liking, and sharing an episode.
Hello friends, welcome back to the show. Each and every episode is brought to you by All I Need. We are a growing skateboard company focused on supporting our skate team. Our decks are 7-ply Canadian maple made right here in the USA. If you enjoy this show and would like to help support it, the best way to do that is to skate one of our decks. If you see an All I Need deck at your local skate shop, swoop it up and shred it. If you don't live near a skate shop, don't worry, we have you covered at ALLiNEEDSKATE.com. Something new to the online store is our script pullover hoodie. It comes in 3 colorways. We have black, navy, and maroon, and sizes small through 2XL. And again, check out all our skateboards and apparel at ALLiNEEDSKATE.com. This episode is brought to you by Scooch. Scooch makes the world's most functional Apple and Samsung phone cases. If you're like me and film a lot of skating on your phone, I'd suggest purchasing the Wingman case. It has an epic pop-out kickstand handle that is great for filming skating. Please make sure to use our affiliate link, scoochcase.com/allineed. I'd like to give a shout out to the always epic Tim McKenney for helping connect me with Danny and making this episode possible. This is the first episode of 2023. I love you motherfuckers, and I'm grateful to be here and now with you. Our guest today is the legendary Danny Gonzalez. In this episode, we discuss his early influences with freestyle skating, his early days in San Francisco, his ups and downs with sponsorships, which include Stereo, Chapman, Globe, how he dealt with knee and ankle injuries. We discussed the mission to Wallenberg to get that first try kickflip melon grab. We also talked about his experience in Scientology and acting, and much, much more. Thanks for coming on the show. And where I'd be stoked to start is at the beginning. Like, how did you grow up? Maybe a little bit about what your family's like, how you got into skating. Did you play any sports? How'd you do in school? I know that's a lot, but somewhere to start.
Yeah. I grew up in San Antonio, Texas. My mother came from Puerto Rico with my dad. He was in the Air Force, and then they ended up splitting, and I was raised by my single mom and my brother, and we were really close. And basically, when we were kids, we did BMX freestyle like a lot, and we were super into that. So any BMX movies we watched, like Curb Dogs and Rad. And what other ones? I think BMX Bandits, which was a really bad movie, but anyway. Yeah, so his friends in the neighborhood had gotten skateboards, and so then he shifted to skateboarding. And then obviously when you have an older brother, you tend to kind of follow what they do. So then I shifted too. So my first skateboard that I kind of technically had like a metal bar going up to it with grips.
Whoa.
So that taught me how to stand on my board. And then one day I unscrewed that off, took it off, and then I was skating that board, and I put regular skate wheels on it because it was like a really crappy like Toys R Us skateboard. And then I convinced my mom to get me a real board, and I was probably 9 when that happened.
Did you know about skate shops then? Because like, how'd you know to get a new board or where to get a new board or real board?
Yeah. Well, dude, my brother's homies all had like the best boards. They had Schmidt Stick, they had Rob Scott, they had Lance Mountain, Tony Hawk boards, and then we had watched Future Primitive. And so we knew like Powell Peralta was around, and there was a skate shop that was like 20 miles away. So we went to that skate shop, and then my first board, I got to like look on the wall and pick a board. And I was so little that I ended up picking a Kevin Harris freestyle board. That was like my first pro board that I skated.
Wait, how old were you when you got your first board?
9.
Yeah, that's mad little, dude. I skate with my friend Elijah right now. He's he's 10, but I met him when he was 9, like mad little.
Yeah. And that was 1987.
Oh, sick.
Yeah, so I was really like, yeah, 86, 87, around that year. And I skated the freestyle board and pretty much was just a freestyler. My favorite skaters at the time was Rodney Mullen, Kevin Harris, and Per Willander.
Whoa,
And
sick.
yeah, so that's what I did for like a year. It was just straight freestyle. Yeah.
Uh, Pear's awesome, dude. I used to ride for Birdhouse in Blitz Distribution for a little bit, so I got to meet Pear and learn a little bit about his skating too.
I've never met him, but obviously a big fan of his video parts and his board graphics.
That's crazy you started freestyle, man, because like the skating I seen of you in videos and magazines wasn't freestyling, you know? It was like way after the fact.
Yeah, well, what happened was that transition went to like the year after, like Streets of Fire, Natas Kapas, Tommy Guerrero, and seeing Tommy charge down the hills and do big launch ramps, and then seeing Natas spin on fire hydrants and do a lot of 1 foot plant, like 1 foot, like I guess 1 foot plant kicks and things like that.
Yeah.
So if you actually look, and then later, and I'm skipping ahead, but later, like John Montesi, I really loved John Montesi and Jeremy Ray, and basically people, and Chris Markovich, who did huge gaps.
Yeah.
So I went from, if and we'll go back, but if you look at some of the moves I've done, it's like one wheels manuals, like one-legged manuals, but then I did a lot of wall rides. And
Yeah.
then I'd incorporate Rodney Mullen's kickflip out of Natas Kapas's wall ride. So if you
Yes.
really look at kind of the tricks that I did, it really embodies those guys. And yeah, and the gap skating was like, we come from the days like if you ollied a gap, that was like a win. Nowadays, I guess you got to like do every flip trick known to man down the gap. But back then, if we ollie 180 the gap, that was like huge,
Yeah.
right?
Definitely.
So yeah.
Yeah, I
Anyway,
used to when I would skate, like you find a new gap, you get the ollie, the frontside 180, back 180, you try to run through all that stuff. Yeah, now it definitely seems like people are like double flipping things like right away and
yeah.
stuff.
Yeah,
So
well, I also come from the mindset of land your trick like first try, right?
yeah.
So nowadays, it doesn't seem like that's the case. Like, you're going to battle a flip trick and go like 20 times down the stairs. Like, there's no way I could do that.
Yeah, that was the
Yeah.
thing about manual tricks too, is like a lot of times you had to sit there and just keep going. It's not like you're landing, it's hard to land manual tricks, really tech manual tricks first try, you know?
Yeah.
People do it nowadays though. You're like, how the you see it? You're like, that was like
Yeah.
done so fast.
Yeah. Well, I will touch base on that. When I first got sponsored, you know how like everything's new, right? And you just expect pros to land everything first try. At least that's what I thought. And then I found out later, I heard a story that Rodney would spend hours, days, weeks trying one move. And that blew my mind. I never knew that. So then when I started doing certain technical manual tricks, I went with that same mindset of like, I'm only going to try that move for hours that day. Like, that's it. So it kind of has its advantages to do that, I guess. But yeah, it does take a while to land some tricks.
Yeah. I'm kind of like that a little bit with frontside flips on flat ground.
Oh
If I
yeah.
can get them feeling right, I'll do them for like 2 hours just on flat ground
Ooh.
because you're like, I don't want to stop this while it's working right, you know?
Yeah, I love frontside flips. I'm not the best at them, but I love them.
I'm the same. I feel exactly the same.
Yeah.
So did you skate with your brother a lot?
I did. My mom worked 3 jobs, and sometimes I'd only see her on the weekends. And we grew up kind of poor. I hate to say poor because some people live on the street,
Yeah.
but we definitely didn't have a lot of money. So my mom worked a lot, and which basically means that like we weren't brought up normally. So we could stay up really late, watch whatever we wanted. And essentially, what I'm really getting at is my brother and I used to that Mark Gonzalez mentality where you would go skate the streets till 3, 4 in the morning
Oh yeah.
and skate everything late at night because it was just closed. That's
Yeah.
what we did. So we would just stay out really late, all the way up until I was 15, 16. We'd stay out till 3, 4 in the mornings on the weekends and skate and then come home. So yeah, we skated a lot. And then think when I was right around 17, we slightly got our own kind of crews, and I started having like my own friends I skated with.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, we did skate like a ton together.
Yeah, I can relate, dude. I grew up in a broken family. Like my father passed away when I was 12 and my mom had her issues and like and if you don't have your dad around and it's a mom with two wild kids, you know, and like three jobs, like it's hard to like that's not a whole unit, you know? It's hard to run a
Yeah,
whole unit when you're broken, you know? So
yeah,
I'm similar. Like I would just stay out skating because it's just something to do besides craziness, you know?
yeah. I read some of your interviews, and I watched some of your videos, and was just kind of listening to your past and what you had to navigate through. And a lot of skateboarders come from similar kind of backgrounds like that. But obviously I agree with what your thoughts are on like skateboarders sometimes can accomplish some really amazing things because they have to go through so much adversity to get there,
Yeah.
right? So that's I guess that's like the positive side from growing up that way.
Yeah, I put a lot of my aggression into skateboarding. Like a lot of my angst and anger I like put it into like skating, you know? Just like I'm gonna
Yeah,
fucking land this trick. I don't care. Even some of my homies do that. They'll just like that trick that day is their everything and they'll like almost be in tears if they didn't land it, you know? Or even if they do land it. That's street
I was
skating for me. I love street skating.
yeah, when I was a kid, I was a total dreamer. Like I would just dream about like doing special things, like maybe one day being in the magazine, or just dreaming about touring, or dreaming about being friends with all the people in the industry. I was a total freaking dreamer.
That's sick.
So yeah, like that. Like I wasn't super like I didn't put a lot of angst into it, but I was definitely like just diluted with dreams.
I can relate at times. It's once you
Yeah,
realize it's almost like once you realize like it's a good thing and you can be a part of it, you want to explore it and do a lot of things, you know? Like seems like
yeah,
you looked up to other people that skated too. That's when then people influence you too that you want to be a
yeah.
part of it, you know?
Yeah. What in San Antonio when I grew up, there was a couple of people that I really liked. So this guy named Eddie, he could do he dressed super punk rock, and it just his look was so cool. I was enamored with him. And he could do hand plants, dare I say, better than Mike Vallely. Like that's how good he was at hand plants. He could do every hand plant. It was insane. And he looked great doing it. And then this other guy named Ezra that I skated with, who was also incredible. Like those were two local guys that I looked up to. And then obviously for skateboarding wise, I think everyone's favorite skateboarder were my favorite skateboarders, like Adam McNatt
Ooh,
and
so good.
yeah, Jason.
Remember the 50-50 rail he nollie flipped out of?
Oh
Adam
yeah, yeah,
McNatt?
yeah.
That
That
was
was the
insane.
411. Yeah.
Yeah, that was
Yeah,
crazy.
I like that, and I liked a lot of his earlier parts too. And then obviously, I mentioned Chris Markovich, and then there was Jason Dill, and then
Ooh, Dale. You said Ray too.
yeah,
Jeremy's amazing as well.
yeah, Shiloh Greathouse, and then I liked Jeremy Klein. I mean, crap, I liked everyone that everyone else liked at the time too.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so but yeah, anyway.
Yeah, that's sick that you gotta my brother skated too. He's younger than me though, but we gotta skate together. That always I don't see him that often now because he's in Australia, so we don't
Oh,
skate as
okay.
much, but he still skates. But it was sick growing up with a brother who skated, you know? It's like a
Yeah.
cool bond to have.
For sure, it is. My brother's 5 years older than me, so sometimes it was a little bit weird because he was like my dad at times.
Oh, that makes sense. Yep.
Yeah, and like so if I wanted to do something different or experiment with something, I always kind of had to worry about like, well, what's my brother gonna think, versus him
Yeah.
being like a year older than me and being a homie and we're just getting into trouble together. It kind of wasn't like that.
Yeah.
So it is what it is though.
Yeah, that's sometimes you gotta take on those roles, you know?
Yeah.
Um, let's go into so you were growing up skating. How'd you get your first sponsor? Or like how'd that happen?
Um, well, at when I was 17 at that time, I was kind of down on my luck, and I just felt it was the right time for me to really try and make an effort to get sponsored. So then I was like, I had this bright idea of skating at a demo, and I was like, maybe they'll see me skate and like say, hey, you're good. Why don't you come to California? That was like my, remember I said I was a dreamer? That was like
Yeah.
my, I was trying to put that into fruition, right? So
I mean, that's how it would happen if you don't do anything. You gotta come up with a game plan if you want something to happen.
especially if you're in like San Antonio or some small town, like how else are you going to do it?
Yeah,
So
yeah, yeah. Totally.
and by that time I had been skating for like almost 10 years, and I had seen every video and I had learned every trick at that point in time. I because I was lucky enough to where like when impossibles was like the thing, and then when pressure flips was the thing, and then late shove it's was the thing. So I learned all of those as time went on, right?
Yeah.
But Foundation was the first company that rolled through, and I skated at the demo. And I never had a chance to mention this to Josh Beagle, but I didn't know any better, so I started skating at the demo, and I didn't realize at the time, but they were on tour for like probably 6 weeks and were like deathly tired and running on E, right? So at the demo, they weren't skating very great, right? And then here I am skating a park that I know every nuance and crack, right? And I'm
Mhm.
like the local park kid that's like doing, and I can at that point just do everything first try in a lot, right?
Yeah.
So I did that thinking that they would be like, wow, this guy's really good. Let's hook him up. And that didn't happen. They actually, I think Josh got upset, gathered the crew, and they left. And then I found out later that he kind of hated me after that.
Oh, dude.
Yeah, it was totally fucked up. So Josh, if you're listening, I'm sorry. That wasn't my intention. But
You're just overly hyped.
yeah, I just thought, oh, I'm gonna
For
show him my
sure.
stuff.
Yeah.
So then I went home.
I would love that, dude. If I went to a place with a team and a demo and they're all tired and there was this one dude that was just killing it, because I MC events, I would have cheered
Yeah.
you on because I'd be like, he's carrying the weight right now. He's doing it. Doing the
Yeah,
demo.
but
I get it.
I went home that night, and I laid in my bed and I stared at my ceiling, and I thought about it and thought about it like for a long time, and then I had an answer. First it was like, well, why were they upset? And then once I figured that out, then I came up with an answer, and I said the next team that comes in town, I'm going to let them do their demo first, and then when they get tired and I can see like 45 minutes or an hour's gone by and they're starting to kind of like wind it down, then
Yeah.
I'll start doing my thing. And that's what I did when Deluxe came through with Anti-Hero, Stereo, and Real. And it
Whoa,
was like,
that's epic.
yeah, a whole bunch of those guys. Lance Mountain was there.
What?
Bob Burnquist was there. I want to say Keith Huffnagel was there.
Wow.
Johnny
Heavy.
Fonseca was there. There was a ton of people there. And anyway, it happened. The TM at the time gave me a card and was like, hey, you should come out to San Francisco and come skate with us. And then I think it was a few weeks later, a month later, I went up there for like 3 weeks and shot and filmed, and then flew back home on my 18th birthday. But the 3 weeks I was there, it's undescribable what it was really like. It was really insane. But that's kind of how I got sponsored.
Yeah. That's you were up in like Thrasherville, dude, and all of Deluxe. You went up north to San Francisco.
Yeah. So what's funny is that I called the TM and I told him at the time, hey, I'm coming up. And he was just like, okay. And then when I flew down there, it was kind of like maybe at that moment I realized that they didn't think I was maybe serious. Like when they gave me the card, because I showed up and they're like, dude, what are we gonna do with this kid? Like, where am I gonna put him? Like, he's not on the team. We're not gonna front a hotel for him. So then they ended up having me stay with Theo Hand for 2 weeks. And Theo didn't even know what to do with me. It was just like, hey, take care of this kid. And Theo was gracious enough to let me sleep on his couch at his place. So
Photographer?
Theo was, what's up?
Does Theo shoot photos?
Yeah, Theo Hand shoots photography. He's done a ton of photos of Penny and a bunch of other people.
I've seen his
Um,
photos. I don't think I've
yeah,
ever met him though.
yeah, he's definitely, in my book, a legend for San Francisco photography. I mean, anyone in the late 90s, early 2000s, he definitely photographed. And what was crazy hanging out with him was I was there just to skate, like skate and destroy, seriously. And he was just like, okay, now we're gonna go to the bars tonight, and now let's go to the adrenaline house and hang out with Jaya Bondarov and like Justin Strubing and all these people, right? So it was like a lot of that and a lot of just, and then when he did take me to spots, they were really like basic kind of spots. And after 2 weeks of just basically getting to see everyone and meet everyone, uh, I went back to the TM at Deluxe and was like, hey, like it's cool hanging out with Theo, but like I really want to go out with your photographer. And it was they had Gabe Morford was their staff photographer.
Yeah, Gabe's
And this
awesome.
guy, this guy was on another level in terms of his photography. He was very regiment, very strict. He had a a binder with, well, eventually I think he got to a binder with like Polaroids and photographs that he could, he knew where every spot was. He knew the times to skate them. He was a machine. And so anyway, I went out for a week. We shot a ton of photos, filmed, and then I went home. And that's what it was like at that time. But the one thing I do want to say was at that time in San Francisco, this is kind of weird to say, but imagine going to Hollywood and you're an actor and you see Brad Pitt and Angelina walking down the street. You see Tom Cruise eating at the cafe. You're like, they're like, hey, we're gonna go to Kevin Bacon's house, and then you go to Kevin Bacon's house and it's like George Clooney's there and all these people are there. It was totally mind blowing in San Francisco at that time. Like I like the TM at the time that was kind of helping me was Mickey, and Mickey was driving me around, and I saw Mark Gonzalez and Jake Phelps just walking down the street, right? And then I saw Jaya Bondarov skating in front of like an equivalent to a Barnes and Noble, grinding down a rail in the midday, and all these people walking by, and I was just like, I had rubberneck the whole time, just like, whoa, like that's so and so, and that's so and so. I was so overwhelmed and shocked. It was incredible, and the mindset they had, the skaters at the time, and I don't know. It was I'm kind of speechless as to how it really was, but I'm tingling thinking about it. But it was definitely like being at Disneyland. I just couldn't believe it.
I can relate because I went to SF when I was younger too, and I like saw Dennis Buznitz and like JT Alts and all these dudes, and just the whole. I skated with Gabe too. Gabe is such the man. He's like such a legend. I love Gabe. But yeah, dude, culture shock. Cause you're just like, what? They have like a whole thing here for so long, you know?
Mm-hmm.
It's epic to have that amount of skate culture in one area concentrated, you know? It's
Yeah.
fucking sick, man.
It changed later, obviously, by '01 and moving forward, the city really changed a ton. But, obviously the heydays was like EMB and Mike Carroll and Henry Sanchez and all those guys, Carl Watson. And when I went, it was definitely changing. That was at the time when, like, Ricky Oviola and Matt Reason and, like, the Sub-Zero video was like really dominating, and people were skating really big wheels and doing Smith grinds.
Yes.
It
Yeah,
just
fuck yeah.
it had changed, and obviously Fred Gall was his video parts, were legendary. Skating on the East Coast, doing all those ledge tricks.
Yeah, and crust. Just skating in the East Coast crust. Fucking sick, man.
Yeah.
That's epic, man. How long do you stay? When do you have to go back from? How long do you stay in SF, and where do
I
you go from
stayed for
there?
3 weeks, and on my birthday, I was told, "Hey, we're gonna make you an amateur on stereo." So I got to spend half my day in San Francisco on my birthday, and that was like the best gift ever. Was being told, like, "Hey, you're gonna be an amateur on the team," and then I flew back home, and uh, got to hang out with my friends that night for like the rest of my birthday.
That's
So it
sick.
was definitely a wicked day.
Stereo was in SF at that time.
Yeah, stereo was done through Chris Pastris and Jason Lee. And Jason Lee had went and did Mallrats. So by the time 96 was coming around, he wasn't skateboarding that much anymore. And then 97 came, and 98, he definitely wasn't really skateboarding a lot. He was just doing a lot of acting.
Yeah.
But Chris Pastris was really still spearheading stereo skateboards. And it was Greg Hunt, Matt Rodriguez. We had got Ryan Wilburn on the team, and then for a short minute there, we had Dustin Dolan on the team as well. And
Sick.
then Ethan Fowler was on the team, and Ethan, I want to say he won Munster when he was 16 years old, and he was like an old soul on a skateboard, and he looked really good and powerful on a skateboard, and just had this really flowy, jazzy kind of style. But I've always loved that dude, and he was super powerful on a board. And so I was lucky to skate with him, and all the rest of the guys as well. And then Greg later on went on to become like a really good cinematographer. Even back then, we saw glimpses of what he could do. He once went into this like building that had an elevator that went like really high up into the sky, and then as he was going up, he was recording, and he was like zooming in or out as he was going up, and it just created this really cool effect. So that was like kind of like the first glimpse of seeing like, oh, this guy has a different eye on things. You know what I mean?
Yeah, he's
um,
definitely a legend.
yeah. I used to love skating his boards too. So anyway, but yeah, so
Was Stereo part of Deluxe, or how did you link
it
up with
was.
Stereo?
It started through
Oh,
Deluxe. Yeah.
oh, okay.
And then later in the 2000s, they split apart and they went to Giant. And then from Giant, now it's just Chris does it separately. And Jason's still really involved with that. But it was Stereo, Anti-Hero, and Real. Those were really the three companies. And then you had Spitfire and Thunder. And then Freedom Clothing was Dander Hobel's thing. And he was doing that through Deluxe as well.
Yeah,
As
Freedom
I
was
guess.
sick.
Yeah. They had funny ads.
I think I knew that Dustin Dolan he was on Stereo for a little bit. I'm pretty sure I knew that. Because I
Yeah.
used to watch every video. I was a young kid on the East Coast, and we didn't have any skate industry, so much like you probably in San Francisco at the time. And I would just watch all the videos and magazines. My friend Dale would get all of them, the forum ones, everything we could get our hands on. This is before the internet, you know?
Yeah.
And so we would just like study your guys' lives basically from on the other side of the country, like just
Oh
connected to
yeah.
like skate stuff.
Yeah. Dustin was skating in Tampa, and he was there was two sides to Dustin. One was this incredible skateboarder that had kickflips on lock, and he had like the fastest flick ever.
Yeah.
And he was really, his attitude shined through when he skated. Like he was down to bust, and he was down to get the crowd into it, and he was down to go big. And you can't overlook that, right? It was incredible. But then the other side of him to him was he was really like a Tasmanian devil off the board. He was totally, at 17, he was already drinking a ton and was completely out of his mind. But that was also an allure to him too, right? And I remember I had a conversation with the TM at the time, and I said, "Hey, look, we were thinking about trying to find someone," and that's how he got on the team, was because it kind of came down to this. I said, "Hey, look, it basically comes down to this: if we don't grab him and put him on the team, somebody else will." And then we were just like, "Okay, screw it, let's put him on." And then yeah, in terms of his history, I think he skated with the company for a couple of years maybe, and then but he was always friends with Reynolds, and always going to Long Beach and skating with Sumner and all those guys. So even though he was on stereo, he was always skating with those guys when he visited California.
Yeah.
So the transition that he made from stereo to, which we now know as Baker, you know,
and it was like the piss drunks originally, so the drinking,
yeah,
Tasmanian devil lifestyle, dude.
Yeah,
Makes
so
sense.
it all worked. Yeah, it all worked out. So yeah,
That's sick, man. So for stereo, do you move back home, or where'd you go from there?
dude. I was gonna immediately move to San Francisco, and right when I was about to move, I rolled my ankle, and really bad, my right one, and it healed off. It healed crooked, and at the time, I didn't really think much about it. So I ended up staying in San Antonio for a whole year trying to
Wow.
heal, and I didn't skate for 6 months, and then I started to skate, and then I went on tour with Stereo and Deluxe for a 6-week tour around the entire United States and Canada. So it was like
Wow.
a big old circle, and it was insane. I was like, I think the only one who stayed on the whole 6-week tour, and we skated everywhere. It was incredible. But I basically skated through my ankle pain that whole tour. And in the beginning, it was my ankle felt like a hot pocket and it hurt. And then by the end of the tour, I had just kind of muscled through it. And then I went back home. And then basically at 19, I decided to make the move to San Francisco. And then I just stayed there permanently at that time. But
Do you know what you did to your ankle?
I basically tried to do a tray flip on a pyramid, and when I went to put my back foot on the tail, it was really strange. Instead of my back foot landing on the tail, it missed the tail entirely. So then I ended up sitting backwards on my foot, and my foot rotated 90 degrees upward. And I
Whoa.
heard all this cracking and popping. But I went and got an x-ray, and they're like, "No, you didn't break any bones." But my ankle had like went completely, maybe it was a little more than 90. I don't know if it was full 180, but it really went bad. And then so now it's healed, and it's like slightly off and kind of angled upwards. So because it's off and angled, it throws the alignment off in my knee. So my knee kind of is it torqued in all the time. So I have to like reset. I have to use my muscles in my foot to align it, and then my knee straightens out. But the problem with that is if you skate a lot and your muscles get tired, my knee could go in again, and then it just, it's not like my ACL re-tears or anything like that, but it'll kind of go inward, and then I just can't skate. It hurts for a really long time. So
Yeah. And
but yeah.
that'll stem from the ankle for sure, man.
Yeah, so 4 years later, after that, that was when I tore my ACL filming the Reason part. So it took 4 years for my knee to finally give in from that ankle injury. But now it's always kind of a little tweaked because I had the ACL surgery, you know.
Yeah. I did
Yeah.
my ACL too when I was younger. It's nothing. It's just a bitch. It's a full
Mm-hmm.
bitch, dude. And it's like you just got to keep up with it, you know? I found like
Yeah.
swimming and stretching and doing like aerobics and pool in the pool, it really helps. And
Yeah.
saunas help for my joints and the knees. And I've done these float tanks where you just float in
Mm.
salt water for like an hour. It's
Oh yeah.
it helps everything relax, and you're basically just soaking your joints in salt water for an hour, no gravity. It's so good for
I
the
haven't
leg.
done that, but salt is for sure good.
Yeah, and you can float for an hour or two. So just think about being in the middle of space with no gravity. You're just floating, and everything stretches out, and you're soaking in salt for an hour or two. Like
Mm.
it's so good for your body. I get out and I'm like, I feel years younger. It's amazing.
I need to do that.
But yeah, dealing with injuries, like it
I got a
really
lot of gray hair. I'm getting old.
nice. You look distinguished. I got some a little bit, just starting a little bit. Don't know.
Yeah.
I
Give it
was my,
another few years. It's gonna grow in here. You're gonna have it here.
this is the longest I've had my beard in a while. Like I usually shave it. My girl was telling me to shave it today, but this is like you're getting the show today.
It looks good. I like
Thank
it.
you. Thank you. Um all right, so well we can't maybe let's go to some of the notes here that I have. So let's talk because you said turn pro for stereo in 98.
Yeah.
Tell me more about stereo days.
Um, well, um, they surprised me with the board. I didn't know they were going to turn me pro. It's just like, hey, here's a board. And so I didn't really have any input on the graphic or the shape or anything. So that was kind of out of left field. But at the same time, it was like anytime someone tells you, hey, we're turning you pro, that's got to be like a big moment, right?
Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
I was on one hand felt weird about it. On the other hand, I was like, okay, but I have to be happy about this because this is what I wanted, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then I ended up skating. Maybe it was like a year being pro for them. It could have been less than a year, but um, that was a telltale sign that they didn't really do things the standard way. In my mind, I thought they'd put you in a room and they'd say, hey, we want to turn you pro. This is how many boards we want to make. We want your input on a shape and a graphic. And this is your royalty. Like none of that ever took place. And that
Yeah.
was kind of like the MO for back then. Like that's how they just did things, right?
Mm-hmm.
But then later, like after the year of them kind of running it like that, I guess it like came to a headway with me and me wanting to be a part of that distribution. So I ended up stopping skating for them professionally. I think almost like a year later.
Damn,
Yeah,
fast and quick right there. Like, damn.
yeah. It's funny if I could go back in time. I always kind of take this back to like there's a moment where you look back on your life and it's not that you want to blame your upbringing, right? But when you don't have a dad and your mom's working all the time and you don't have guidance and no one's really telling you how to do things, you're really like this feral kind of thing. Like I didn't really have a proper upbringing. So obviously when I was faced with these radical decisions at 18, 19 years old, in my heart, I felt like I was making the right move because my heart was saying, hey, that's not right. You need to do this, right? But now that I'm older and I'm 44 and I've gone through all these experiences and have learned a lot, I realized then like I if I could go back, I wouldn't make the same decisions, right? And I wouldn't be so hasty. To be honest with you, the way I was raised, I should have never been even in the position that I was in because I just wasn't ready for it. I wasn't
Yeah,
prepared for it.
maybe because you were free though, you were able to go. Like so a lot of people will never get free of their like responsibilities to pursue it. Since you
No, I know. I mean, I was definitely free to go do it, but I just feel like that gift that came to me, I just wasn't ready for it to receive it the correct way. Like an example,
I can relate to that for sure.
yeah. And I think we kind of discussed this a little bit, but like imagine being the new young kid on a team, right? And you're shooting Spitfire ads, Thunder ads, Lucky ads, stereo ads. you're going to Tampa, and whatever, and you're doing all these ads and videos, and then all of a sudden they're like paying you like $900, right? And you're like, that's pretty good. And I'm doing all this stuff, and then it jumps up to say $1,100, and you're like, okay, this is good, right? But then you find out like some of the people that you grew up like idolizing are making $200 and $400 a month, and they're older. They might even have families, who knows? And here's this 19-year-old kid on the team making that much. I was really mad about that. Like I was mad that they were almost in a way paying me that much when I was just the new guy that was on the team for a year and a half, or whatever, 2 years. And these guys had dedicated their lives to the company. But if I could go back in time, it almost seems like in my mind, I'm like, oh, I should have taken the money they gave me and figured out a way to disperse it so everybody came up. You know what I mean? It's like,
I'm
you know,
sure
if
you,
you could go back.
I'm sure you were doing a lot of the work too. That's what happens. Like if someone comes in, they're creating all the content, you know?
Well, I noticed too, a lot of the pros at the time, they didn't really want to go film and want to go shoot. So, you know, when I was photographing with Gabe, he was always free. So obviously I was like, I'm going to go shoot with him as much as I can. But then I found out later, I was like, man, if, you know, maybe if I was only making a couple of $100 a month too, maybe I wouldn't want to either. I don't know, you know,
Yeah,
I don't
sure.
really know, but that was kind of like where my head was at that time, you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, if I could go back, obviously I wouldn't have been so hasty.
Yeah, but you live, you learn, and that's still an epic part of the story, you know? Such
Yeah, I
is
guess.
life. Such is life.
Yeah.
What about, all right, we're moving forward. We're moving forward. Oh, you skated for Chapman too.
Yeah, so basically a year after I left Stereo, I tried Wallenberg actually before the Reason. I tried it when I was on Stereo, and I tweaked my knee out because of my foot, you know, my knee kind of gave in or whatever. And I was out for 9 months actually at that time. And I wasn't skateboarding. I wasn't in any mags. I wasn't doing anything. And when I quit Stereo, I think at that time, like, I mean, I just hate this part of my history, but I feel like things were kind of said about me at that time. And I had no way of defending myself. Again, I wasn't in videos, I wasn't out and about. So it just settled in like that. And that was just kind of, that was paved. So 9 months goes by, and then I start looking at getting some sponsors. And that's when I found out like all these crazy things were kind of said about me after I quit Stereo. And it made it really difficult for me to find a sponsor.
Yeah.
But then that's how I found Chapman, was because they were on the East Coast. Greg was only making wood for New York. And then he decided that he was going to do a board company. So then I told him like everything that happened with me, and he felt, okay, I'm going to give you a chance. Let's do this. Right. So then I ended up skating for Chapman for a couple of years, I think. And that's basically how I got on the team with them at that time.
That's awesome. Yeah, I know Chapman. They're awesome. The brothers are awesome, man.
Yeah.
I've bought boards from them in the past.
Yeah.
And I've been out there and visited them and checked out the shop and the factory and stuff. That's awesome,
Well, they
dude.
make the best boards,
Yeah, dude, that's
I think. I
awesome.
don't know.
Yeah, they're good boards, man.
Yeah.
That's sick. Um, the ACL. Oh yeah, you were filming for Transworld video. That must have been sick. How'd that one line up? How'd you end up in the roster?
I got a call from Ty Evans. I guess he had heard about some of the stuff that I was doing in the city, and just randomly was like, "Hey, I'm skating with Paul Mack now and Gershon Mosley and all of these people. Do you want to go out and film?" And I was just like, "Yeah, let's do that." And then, it was kind of weird because remember I was saying how I was out for 9 months, and then I
Yeah.
started skating, and then I was on Chapman. Well, for another like 8 months went by. I wasn't filming, but I was skating every day, 6 hours a day. So I actually was kind of stockpiling all these moves that I hadn't filmed or shot. So when Ty got a hold of me, we filmed only, I think, like 3 times. And during that time, I filmed everything that was in my reason part, plus more footage that he never even put in my part.
Wow.
Yeah, and then so we shot a few times, and then this is going to sound crazy, but I wasn't even supposed to be in the reason part. I was supposed to be in the video after that, and I was shooting to basically have a full part in the next video. So what happened was, in the reason, if you look at my little video part, it's choppy, and it's like, and it's like real choppy. Well, essentially, he did that for the movie theater screening, and he didn't show any of my tricks being landed, and it was just going to come up and be like Danny Gonzalez filming a video part for next Transworld video.
Oh,
so it was supposed to be like a commercial.
Yeah.
But then I called him and I was like, oh, I tore my ACL. And he's like, well, what do you want to do with this footage that's already in here? Should I add in the clips of you landing the tricks? And what do you want to do with Wallenberg? Do you want to release that now, or do you want to wait a year for the next video to release it? And at that time, everyone was trying Wallenberg to be the first person to kickflip down the stairs. This was before anyone was using ramps. So everyone was like literally trying to run and jump down it, which is very impossible to do. That's why like 20 years went by and nobody had landed a kickflip, you know?
I went to it when it had nothing fixed. It was fucking it was big. Dude.
It's impossible.
Yeah.
It was impossible. That's how come like so many years went by of no one doing a flip trick, you know? Even when Mark ollied it for the first time, he opened the gate and bombed the hill and frontside grabbed ollied it. You know what I mean? To freaking hold on to it.
That's so
and
gnarly.
I did it the same way. I opened the fence, I bombed the hill, came down, and now in terms of melon grab, that was just a trick I was really good at, and so I would have done a backside grab no matter what. It's not like I did it specifically for Wallenberg. I was just like really good at that trick, and I just did it kind of like how Andrew's really good at frontside flips, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Like, the kickflip backside grab was something I did all the time, so I would have done it like that anyway. But anyway, that's how I hooked up with Ty. We ended up filming a lot of footage, and that's how the whole reason kind of came to be. And at that time, I was landing everything almost like first or second try for that whole part. You know what I mean?
The Wallenberg was first try, right?
Yeah.
That must have been such a relief. The bails, dude, on that thing.
It was because I had went to a doctor a couple of days before, and my ankle was bothering me, and I had a bone chip in it, and it was getting lodged in my joint. And he says, hey, we should surgically remove that, and you'll be out just for a few weeks, and you can keep skating. And I postponed that, and I was like, no, I'm filming a part right now. I'll do it after. And then so I guess what I'm getting at is, if I would have bailed that and landed on my foot, I would have been out. I would have been commissioned out. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it had to be first
So
try.
I was relieved to land it first try. And essentially, if you look at that video and you see my face when I'm riding away and I'm kind of like this, that's me being in shock. Like did that just happen? Like, I didn't fall. I don't have to go through the battle, you know, like I got so lucky. It was crazy.
That first try on something like that, especially that spot and that trick at that time, that was so gnarly, man. And to do it first try is insane.
Well, I got lucky. I don't know.
Legendary though. All right, moving right along, dude. Filmed the part for FTC.
Yeah.
Use some of it in the stereo footage.
Yeah. So after I left stereo, I had stockpiled footage from that I had filmed with stereo with random photographers. And I want to say Trevor Prescott was the guy I was skating with all the time and filming, and he had filmed some of it. And FYI too, like, I just want to say this, but essentially I had all that footage at stereo. And when I ended up quitting, I ended up taking a lot of that footage that I had that I'd filmed with other people and dubbed it. So to make sure I had it, because you know
Yeah.
how like when you leave a company, they're not gonna give you the footage. They're like,
Yeah.
you're out, like you're not getting your footage back. So I had made sure that I got copies of it. So I basically used some of that footage and other footage for my FTC video part. And then like the Kickflip California Street did that was filmed when I was skating for stereo and stuff like that. But yeah, I ended up doing that, and me and Trevor were really good friends. And then after I moved to California, I found out Trevor passed away. Super bummed on that. But yeah, it's kind of weird. As much as I'm happy to be in the FTC video, my heart really is still with like the first video, first or second videos of FTC, with like
Yeah.
Mike Carroll and those guys. That's like the heart of it for me.
Yeah. Hell yeah. Those are
Yeah.
classics. It's sick to
Yeah.
be in it, part of it though. That's sick.
It is, but it's still like those other two videos were amazing.
Yeah. I get that. I get that. Dude, in the how so did you end up you got the ACL fixed though, right?
Mm-hmm.
Nice. Good move.
So,
Solid move.
well, when I got my ACL fixed, I I didn't immediately go into surgery. For 3 weeks. I let it heal, and then after that, I was told to exercise my leg muscles, which I did. So before I went into surgery, you would see me walking around riding a bike. You wouldn't even think I have a torn ACL.
Yeah.
But I was told to strengthen the muscles first before you get cut. So then after I got cut, for 9 months straight, I went for 3 days a week for 3-hour sessions. So they say after you tear an ACL, oh, 6 months you're on your board. I didn't do that. I waited 9 months, and I didn't go for an hour or an hour and a half. I went for 3-hour sessions 3 days a week. And at that time I had a chiropractor and a physical therapist also too, and a physical trainer, all three of those 3 days a week for almost a year, because I did it for 9 months, and then I got back on my board. So then uh, around that time, I kind of started filming for my Globe Opinion video part. And not only that, but I started filming for uh, the Logic video part that I had. I was filming for both of those at the same time. Um, after I had my knee surgery, but that's kind of like the timeline for that.
Yeah, Logic videos were sick. That's sick that you rode for a Globe. So the knee's feeling good. The ankle's still kind of bummy. It's still hurting.
The ankle never hurt. It's just offset.
Oh, okay,
And
okay.
and and here's a crazy thing. So one thing is right around that time, I'm still on Chapman. I'm still skating for Chapman, but at that time, I won best trick at Tampa, and then I got seventh place in the contest. And then at this point, I'm traveling all over the place, doing a ton of ads and photos and interviews, and
The
so
dream,
everything's
the
going really
dream,
well.
the
Yeah, the
dream.
reason part did really well. Globe's like, hey, we're giving you a shoe now. And then Shorties wanted to put me on their team, and at the time, and I was like, no, I don't want to leave Chapman. So then they ended up putting me on Ghetto Child and gave me a wheel. So I
What?
ended up doing that at the time. And then around the time I was filming my opinion part and my logic part, this crazy peer pressure came over me, because the filmer that was filming my logic part was like, hey, they're going to fire me if you don't give me footage.
Oh man.
And,
Fuck.
and, but when I say I was filming for the logic, I actually wasn't filming for logic. I was just filming with their videographer at the time. And he was filming my globe part. But then
Okay.
they found out he was spending all his time with me. They pressured him and said, "Hey, Danny needs to give us footage because we're not paying you to film him for Globe." So then I gave him like, dude, I gave him like half my stuff, and it was like the better stuff. Because in my mind, I was like, I'm skating really well. I'm gonna go do everything better for
Yeah,
this
yeah.
part. And then after I gave him the stuff and they released the part, I screwed up big time because I should have consult. This is a learning thing too. I
Yeah.
should have consulted Globe, the main guys at Globe, um, and told them the pressure that I was under because they could have made it gone away, and I just
Yeah.
didn't think about that. I just thought, oh, I got to give him footage because my friend's going to lose his job.
Yeah, that's a
So then I
shitty.
gave him the footage, and then I ended up hurting my knee doing a frontside board slide for my glow part, and then I tweaked my knee, and then I had to tell the Globe people, which we were on a deadline to finish the video in like a month or two. They postponed the whole video part because I tweaked my knee for like 6 months.
Wow, that's heavy.
That is heavy because, dude, it was Gershon, Rodney, Chet Thomas, and they postponed the video for me to heal up, which was like a really big thing. Anyway, this is kind of besides the point, but when I showed Gary, the owner at Globe, my logic part, he was pissed.
Oh
Like he
no.
watched it and then he got up and left the room. He was so mad at me.
Oh
And he
man.
was mad because in that video part, I described what it was like to come back from my surgery. And he wanted to do that with the Globe part, but I didn't know.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah. And he was just really mad. He was super mad. Like it, it still affects me just thinking about it, but he was really mad. And then, anyway, I got better. I finished my part. And one thing about my Globe opinion part was that um, we had to fill it with stuff because my knee was still messed up. So if you look at that video part, like I'm kind of goofing off and I'm kind of showing more personality. Like that was kind of like planned because I couldn't really go hardcore shred.
Yeah.
So it's like I've had people tell me, "Oh, I really like your video part," but in my mind, I don't like it that much because of that. And I bet Gary probably feels the same way about it. But um,
It depends on what you like in skating. Like sometimes to me the goofing off antics, segue stuff is like awesome. It gives flavors the skater with a personality, you know? But then other times it's
yeah,
like you just want raw gnarliness. And I know you're chomping at the bit to get all these tricks out. You're like on
yeah,
you're progressing skating for sure at that time doing crazy stuff, man.
I wanted to go raw for sure.
Yeah.
Um, but anyway, yeah. So that's kind of what happened with the Globe opinion part and the logic part, and me coming back from my knee and all that. Um, and we can go back, but actually, after I hurt my knee, I told Globe I was going to quit skateboarding, and they talked me out of it and said, no, you got to finish filming your video part, and then you can quit. And by the way, we're going to give you a second shoot, even though you're not going to be skateboarding,
Oh my
because
God.
I guess my name was at a certain point, and they knew like if they made it, they could still capitalize on making money for that.
Yeah.
So it was weird. So I came back, I filmed the part, and then I stopped skateboarding. So when that video came out and my shoe was out, I wasn't skateboarding anymore. But no one knew that. Everyone thought I was just still skating.
Like when you say stop skating, do you mean like for sponsorship? Like you still skated but just not for money or for
No,
any.
I stopped skateboarding and I called all my sponsors and was like, "Hey, I'm not going to be a professional anymore." So even though Gary was mad at me when he left the room, when I had my final discussion with him about quitting, we were in the room together and he was trying to convince me not to quit. And he was like, "You still have so much more in you and you can change the way you skate." And again, making these decisions when I shouldn't have been,
Yeah.
um,
Yeah.
and full out crying in the room, like just crying and crying and crying. But I told them that I was in pain and I didn't want to skate in pain, and I didn't want to be 30 years old and in pain with nothing to really show for what I was doing. And that was like my mindset then. And then I called, and then that it daisy chained. I called Split, I called Ghetto Child, uh, whatever other sponsors I had at the time. I called all of them and was like, I'm not doing it anymore. So then 5 years went by of me like not skating.
What do you get into for 5 years? Dude, for me, I just skate through the injury because I was like unhealthily addicted to skateboarding, dude. You're smarter than me to make that
What did I do for 5 years?
Yeah.
What did I do for 5 years? Well, I got a DUI
Oh
right
man.
around the time when I was filming my Globe and my opinion part,
When
and
it rains, it pours, dude.
yeah, I got a DUI, and was drinking like a fish for a year when I turned 21, right? And this girl Ashley that I was good friends with. She was a Scientologist, right? So I was trying not to judge, but she was a Scientologist. And after my car wreck, she said, "Hey, why don't you come do the purification program? It's like a thing where it helps you detox, like Betty Ford or whatever."
Yeah.
And I was like, "Yeah, like that sounds pretty cool, actually. Detox, get all the toxins out of your system." So I did that. So then once I did that, they kind of get your hooks into you, at that point, the Scientologists, because they're like, "Hey, you feel great after that. If you like that, why don't you do this next thing?" So I ended up daisy chaining, doing different courses there for like later on for that whole year. I think it went on for like 18 months.
Wow.
So after I quit skateboarding, I was doing that. So I was going and doing all these different courses. I had became friends with Bera, and
Was it helping you?
yeah, the detox program was actually incredible. It's a 30-day thing, and you go to the Celebrity Center for 5 hours a day, and you eat a full salad, a full meal. You get 8 hours of sleep, and they give you all these vitamins and peanut oil. But then they also give you like milligrams of niacin, which increases your body heat over time. And what happens is you go get in a sauna for that 5 hour period. You do 20 minutes in, 5 minutes out, 20 minutes in. And essentially what happens is your outside temperatures heat up and then your internal heats up. And then all of a sudden you start to flush out because the niacin they give you, they're increasing the milligrams. And then all of a sudden you feel like a flush happen after the 5 hours. And then at that point, you're good to go home. So imagine 30 days of that. You're getting 8 hours of sleep. You're eating a big old salad every day. You're getting all these vitamins. And then they're increasing your niacin all the way up to 10,000 milligrams. And then by the end of the 30-day cycle, you almost feel like a pop, like something happens where you feel like, this is going to be hard to explain, but you kind of feel like you're new again. It's really weird. Like when you were 11 and 12 years old and summer hit,
Yeah.
and you got out of bed and the sun was out, and you're just like, bing, and you're like, I'm ready to go.
Oh,
Versus being in your 20s and you're groggy and you're achy and it's hard to get out of bed, and 1 p.m. rolls by, and by 3 you're kind of skating, and then you're getting it in by 4 or 5. Like that went away, man. It was like immediately I was like 12 again. It was incredible.
yeah.
So that was so incredible that then they were like, "Hey, you should do this other thing called the ups and downs." And it's basically like it's a scientific reason as to why people roller coaster in life, why things are great, then why things are bad. And then you go into that for a few weeks studying why you roller coaster. So it's not necessarily an applied belief like, "Hey, I'm praying and I believe that this is going to happen and that's why things go well and things don't." It's like an applied science, like no, this is why this is happening. And really the skinny of it is a lot of it has to do with like your influences, your friends, your family, the negatives that they're telling you, and how you let that dictate you, and that can cause issues or past bad experiences. Like an example, you could be driving in traffic and all of a sudden you're thinking of this really negative thing that affected you, and you start to feel shitty. And then next thing you know, you hit the car in front of you and you're like, fuck, I wasn't really in present time at that moment because I was thinking about that negative thing.
Yeah.
So anyway, I was doing that. And then I met a ton of celebrities through there. Bera had invited me 2 years in a row to Bill Pullman's house with Juliette Lewis. Tom Waits was there. Bill Pullman is the guy from Independence Day who plays the president, and he's like, today is our Independence Day. You know that guy?
Yeah, okay.
Dude, Bera was like, hey, I'm going to my friend Bill's house. Come. So I went, and I'm walking up the driveway, and it's dark, and there's a light behind Bill. And I look up, and he's tall, and I see him, and I go, and he goes, Danny? And I was like, oh my God. I was like, dude, you're freaking Bill Pullman. I've seen all your movies, man. And he's like, oh yeah, Steve didn't tell you.
That's so
but
wild.
yeah. So
to go back to the Scientologist thing,
yeah.
a little bit. I feel like a lot of people, maybe not everyone, but it definitely a stage in life where you're caught up in your emotions and you have stress and worry either about the past or the future. I think we distract ourselves from the present moment. A lot of people do. And now with the way the society's set up, there's so many distractions that can pull you out of your present moment. So I can see how that could help you, if you're teaching people the basics of like just some controlling their emotions and their thoughts, like practicing how to like block out thoughts is sometimes a good idea. Like not all your thoughts are your own,
It's really helpful. It really is. The pros about it is that you really learn about yourself and you really learn about other things. Another one was like the train objectives and TRs, and it's been a while. It's been like 20, 30 years or whatever, but TRs and objectives, they're like these training routines. They teach you how to be comfortable in your own skin and confront people and deal with situations.
Yeah.
One of the things was you would get in a chair and you would sit in a chair and the other person would sit in the chair, and you'd be this close to each other and you would stare at each other and just sit there and do nothing and just stare at each other. And it's very uncomfortable at first. And then after a while, they could literally put Tom Cruise in front of you and it doesn't bother you. And then that escalates until like now you can verbally say things to each other to make you react. And it just kept doing that until one day, like it doesn't matter what anyone says or who's in front of you. It like doesn't affect you. So that was another one. The last straw for me was The Key to Life. It's basically they give you these like 5 books and they're super thick. And The Key to Life, it's basically communication, right? So in each book, it had hundreds of words, and you learn the derivation and the definition of every single word for 5 books. It's like 5 encyclopedias. Like the word of's got like 20 meanings, right? And I'm sitting there reading and I'm dulling. I'm like, you know how when you read and you get a misunderstood word and you start to doze off, that's because you're reading through things you don't quite fully know the definitions of. So as I'm studying, I'm like getting tired and I'm like, yo, I didn't sign up for all this. Like I was good like a few courses back. I'm good. I don't want to do this. You know what I mean? But
yeah.
The other thing that's crazy about Scientology is they have this e-meter. It's like a digital thing that looks like this with a needle that floats. It's not a lie detector, but you hold these cans and essentially they ask you questions and personal questions. Like say, for example, they ask you a question about your childhood, maybe a situation you had with your mom that really scarred you. Well, as you're talking, the needle doesn't move, but then all of a sudden you say something that's a trigger that really triggers you, the needle just starts going. And then when they see that, they dig into that. They ask way more questions. And then all of a sudden the needle's just fluttering until like at some point in that conversation, there's a win. Like you feel better and the needle just goes dead. But you feel it like leave your shoulders. It's totally bizarre. But here's the crazy thing. They document that, put that in folders. So if you're there for 20 years, imagine you have a room full of folders and they have all this data on you that's personal.
They know all your triggers, if people forget things fast, and then you can get them again with all their triggers, you know?
Oh, no. Yeah, but not only that, but if you want to leave.
Oh yeah, it's so true.
They can, if they wanted, they have all this data on you, which is not necessarily good. The other negative thing that I didn't like about it is that they never really want to let you leave. It's always like, hey, if you like that, do this. And it all costs money.
Yeah.
And so it's like it never stops, right?
Yeah.
So I'll just say this to end it on the Scientology thing. But till this day, they still send me 5 to 6 things in the mail.
Wow.
Every other day. And it's been 23 years. And they call me I have over 200 to 300 blocked numbers on my phone. And they call and text me still every single day. And it's been like 23 years.
That's fucked up.
And I've asked them multiple times, hey, please don't call me. Please stop mailing me stuff. And they don't. So they even called my father-in-law. My father-in-law was like, who is this?
Yeah, I've seen like a video, and I know they use like intimidation tactics on people, which is fucked up. Religions can go way too far.
One last thing I'll say is that I think I said that a second ago, but
that's okay.
One lady I spoke to, I said, why do you guys keep bugging me? Like, why? And they literally said this. They go, well, you're kind of an anomaly here. And I go, what does that mean? They're like, you just left. Like, you just left. And they were like perplexed. I was like, really? That's why you guys keep calling me?
Maybe it reflects bad on them. Maybe they think it's like, he doesn't believe what we believe.
I don't know.
They should start worshiping you in a good way.
No.
JK.
But anyway, so yeah, I did that while I wasn't skateboarding, and then I studied acting. I did acting profusely for 2 years straight before I got an agent and a manager. I had Jason Lee's manager for a while, and I auditioned in front of every top casting director at the time. And I did a bunch of commercials, did some short films. And then I did a movie, which I don't want to say the name, but Luke Perry was in it.
Sick. That sounds awesome.
Yeah. So then I studied for 2 years, and then I did acting for 2 years. So altogether, that was like a 4-year period. And then also too, I did skate a little bit. Bara blessed me with the key to his warehouse. So late at night, I would go skate his warehouse late at night.
That's sick.
And then yeah, so I did that.
Can I say something here?
Yeah.
I had Steve Barra on the podcast, and I asked him about Scientology, and I think he thought I might have was like sabotaging him or making fun of him, you know?
Yeah.
So he got kind of defensive and didn't really. I think he just told me like all he has to do is read a book or something. I have to go back and listen.
Way.
Yeah.
I'll say this about Barra.
But I felt bad because I like Barra. I like him business wise and skating wise. Like I thought it was sick, the barracks and all that stuff. Like I thought it was a cool idea, you know? Go ahead.
Yeah. Well, I'll say this about him. First off, I would call him the Bearska, like Muska.
Fuck yeah.
The Bearska.
That's awesome.
Because he's a big deal, right?
Hell yeah.
When you think of Steve Barra and you look at the foundation days, right? Like he's a hero. You know, he deserves all the credit in the world for being a great pioneer in skateboarding. And then also just a great pioneer business-wise, right? For partnering up with Eric and having the idea of doing an e-commerce site to put all those guys together. You know, like, because in the beginning, when the barracks was created, it was like you got to see all the people you wanted to see. It was like Guy Mariano, right? And like all these other the people you never really quite see, they were at the barracks. So obviously you wanted to see that. The other thing about Barra, and I just want to say this because I never had an opportunity to say it. He was open arms with me, right? He was taking me out and to eat. I was getting to meet his friends, and meet famous people too, right?
That's a
And
trip.
going to concerts and letting me skate the warehouse. So I think I can see how he might be sensitive to talk about Scientology, but then at the same time, like for me, he was definitely open arms, and I was just really grateful to be his friend at that time. So yeah.
Yeah, I just have the problem of like when I talk to people, I always find like the dead end or I always end up finding out what they don't want to talk about somehow, like it's like a gift and a curse. And I
Yeah,
honestly, he got defensive and I was looking at it more like a religion, not like, and I know all the gossip about it, but I still like am just curious.
yeah.
I even
The
like,
one,
I know people get taboo even talking about Christianity, maybe not in
yeah,
California, but around here it's
yeah.
like it's not open in all circles.
Yeah. The one thing about Scientology is like there's these levels to it, right? And you're supposed to be clear, like when you attain some certain level. And I think he got to that level. But I remember one day he got hurt in the park and he was screaming. He hurt his ankle and he was screaming. And it was kind of shocking and scary to see him like that. And I wanted to go help him, but everyone else that was skating at the park was like, no, leave him in there because he does that. And that was like the one thing that I thought was different than what I thought Scientologists were supposed to be. The fact that he was screaming and being that way.
That's his skateboarder
Um,
side.
yeah, it must have been. But that was kind of like one thing that I noticed with him. He was definitely passionate, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Passionate and angry, but anyway.
Yeah. Um yeah. Yeah, he just closed up on me. But I still appreciate him coming on the podcast. I was like, this is sick cuz I love Steve Bear. I remember the foundation footage, but I also even like the acting stuff and the birdhouse and the skits and just like even his like part where he like made up street spots, like skate park street spots. Like I was just
Yeah,
like this. I
he
like
got a
his
lot of
skating.
slack for that.
I know he takes what I'm trying to say is like he does take a lot of heat, but I still like am a fan of the Bearska.
Yeah, the Berska. Yeah, hey, the best backside flips in the business.
Yeah, for real.
Yeah,
Amen.
yeah,
I'm glad you got out of Scientology too. Nothing against those guys, they can live their life, but that documentary is brutal.
yeah,
Oh
yeah.
God, sounds bad. All right, so that was your that was your 5 years, and it's a strange turn from where you were. It's straight from like magazines, videos, hanging out with Scientologists and actors. That's hilarious. Life is
Yeah.
strange, dude. What
Yeah.
about okay? So, how'd you get back skating again? What pulled you back in? Where's the?
I sold my car. Me and my girlfriend at the time broke up, and I decided to go back to San Antonio and hung out with some friends here and kind of started skating more. And then I moved back to LA in 2005. And then I started hanging out with Siu Trin.
Oh,
And
sick.
Siu Trin is an amazing photographer, done a lot of work with Trans World. And it was crazy because even at that age, there was so much that I was not good at. Like I would say things that could offend people, like, and me not know it. And it was like he was like my friend, but he was like my dad. And he'd yell at me and he'd be like, dude, you don't say that. Why are you saying that? Why are you asking that question? Like, why would you do that? And I'd be like, I don't know. That was like what came into my mind. So it was like weird. It was like he was like my best friend, but beyond that.
Yeah.
And like he could affect how I really felt because I deeply cared about what he thought. But at the same time, he also brought me around everywhere with him, which means that like at that time when I had quit stereo and then there was the Thrasher Skate and Destroy video game, like there was like a moment in time where like I don't know if people really wanted to see me or hang out with me, or maybe they had some idea about me. But if you got to know me, you'd be like, oh, who cares? So Siu was one of those people, and he started bringing me around, and he started photographing me, and then eventually we ended up doing an interview and things like that. But that's how I kind of got back into skateboarding.
That's sick.
Yeah.
Siu is the man. I've skated and shot photos with him in the past. It's been a long time. Been a long time though. Oh, dude.
Mm-hmm.
I'm dropping stuff once.
He still skates too. So I talked to him just, I think, yesterday actually.
Did he shoot the cover on the ceiling?
No. Janowski had the cover.
He had the cover of that?
Yeah,
Wait,
he had
I
the
remember
cover doing a switch kickflip down on a double set in San Francisco down that. It's like a steep hill.
Yeah.
And it has a rail, and he did like a switch flip and went down.
I remember that double set. But I remember that photo, or was it probably the footage too, where you did the wall ride and you went on like upside down, basically, dude, on the roof.
Yeah. So what happened? So what happened with that was Janowski had a pro spotlight, which was like a 20 pager. And also too, his sponsor was paying like the mag every month. And when I did my ceiling ride, I had no sponsors at the time. So no one was paying the mag. And also too, I didn't have a pro spotlight. They were just letting me have an interview.
Yeah.
So it really came down to like, we can't give you the cover. Like we have to give it to our main pro who has the pro spotlight. That's got 20 pages and their brand is paying. It just makes sense, right? They wouldn't just give it to me.
No, that makes perfect sense.
Yeah. So I in the interview, I had like a 2-page spread of the trick.
Dude, that trick was insane. That was the first time I ever seen it. I think I've seen it. Maybe someone else has done it once or twice, maybe after, but not on that same spot. But at that time, that was like the only time I ever saw that, dude. That was insane. I just assumed it was a cover because it was so gnarly, dude. There was a few things you did like that were like, whew.
Transworld came out actually in their 25th anniversary issue and wrote a little blurb, and they said that they got more slack from not running that as a cover than any other photo, and they admitted to dropping the ball on that.
Oh, damn, that's that's awesome. They're class X, dude. Class X.
Yeah.
That's fucking awesome, man.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
I know you said you worked at Apple. How did you get into there? Or what did you do there?
Man, when you're sponsored young, and I had money from skateboarding for that year and a half I was on Globe. So I didn't have a regular job for years after that.
That's
so
awesome.
I had to get a regular job around 06 to 07. So it was demeaning, actually. I cried quite a bit when I got my first regular job because I didn't go to college, didn't have a degree, didn't know what to do. And I had picked up golf around that time. And that's what I would do on my spare time if I wasn't acting. So I got a job at Sports Chalet. So I'd wear the red shirt tucked in with the lanyard, and I would just like head up the golf department and tell people about the equipment and clothing and the balls and stuff. And then eventually that led, one job to another. And then I ended up working at Apple. And the reason why I worked at Apple was because when I was working at a bike shop, this guy came in all tatted, emo. And I was like, where does this guy get a job? Like, where does he work if he's all tatted? And he goes, oh, I work at Apple. And I go, Apple? And this was at the time when the iPhone was first being announced, the first touchscreen device.
Yeah.
So Steve Jobs was like, and the iPhone was like a big deal. And I found out he worked at Apple. And I was like, you work at Apple? I was like, how? Like, like, what do you do? You know? And he's like, oh, I'm a teacher. I was like, you're a teacher? I was like, what? I was like, they hired you and you're all tatted and you look crazy. And he's like, yeah, I work there. And then so I went down there and I looked at everyone else, and like the diversity was insane. They had every culture. They weren't biased to sexual preferences or anything. It was just like, I want to work here. This is where I want to work. So then I went and I interviewed, and then they gave me a position. And at the time I got hired, I didn't know anything about computers. I mean, nothing. I didn't
Wow.
know anything. And so the learning curve there was difficult, like really difficult. But anyway, that's how I started. And then I met my wife, and then we got married, and I was having my first kid, and I wasn't skateboarding anymore. And I stopped acting because I ran out of money, and I didn't want to wait tables at night so I could be free during the day to audition. I just did not want to do that. So I was like, okay, I'm done with the acting. So then I just went full bore with Apple, and I worked at Apple for 11 years. And but yeah, that's how I got into Apple.
What'd you end up doing there?
I was just a regular salesperson part time. They asked me to go full time. I said no, and then I moved to San Diego, transferred, and then when we were having my first kid, then I went full time, and then I transferred to another store, and then I became an expert. And then an expert is just basically a glorified person that's like a salesperson, but they're really at the top of the chain. And
Oh,
then I like kind of help people below me help their metrics get better. I kind of get graded on how they do, how they perform. And then I just did that for a while, and then I went crazy, dude. I just went absolutely crazy working there because imagine taking like Nikki Six from Motley Crue or some feral, insane person who only knows touring and they don't say the right things, and then putting them in an Apple store and they have to be like, hello, sir, how are you? How can I help you? And being like this Stepford wife type of attitude, you know, it was really difficult for me. And I put my foot in my mouth tons of times, like saying things on accident to customers and like not getting fired, like unknowingly doing things. But eventually I learned. So Apple's a really big reason as to why, like communication wise, people skills wise, I was able to change and shift
yeah,
who I am.
dealing with the publics, trying to explain all the technologies and all everything, learning all of that. Yeah.
Just human communication in general. And then they have like these really thick books on um uh like words that have these definitions of different body language, and dude, it was just crazy. So but anyway, but yeah, that's kind of my Apple story.
Yeah. That's sick, man. When I was sponsored for a while, and then the recession happened and I lost my paycheck, and I got a job first bouncing tires like off of like big ass semi big ass trucks that you pull all the tires off and have to bounce them and stack them on pallets and stuff. That was fucking intense because I'm not like the biggest dude, you know, and I'm catching like big ass tires and trying to like throw them up, stack them and stuff. I was like,
Yeah,
I got kind
that's
of
hard.
ripped. Yeah, it's just brutal manual labor. And then I got a job screen printing too. Well, I was just catching. I wasn't actually screen printing. I was catching all the other people's brands and boxing them up, and eventually like do it. You move around the warehouse and learn a little bit of everything, you know. Um,
Is that what you're doing now?
uh, right now I have a warehouse space where it's out of that place, ESP
Nice.
Solutions. Yeah,
That's cool.
and I like rent a corner out of the space, and I have my skateboard company, All I Need, and I also uh, distribute World Industries too.
Oh wow.
Yeah, so we've been bringing back new art. My friend is pro for World right now, which is fucking awesome. This kid Kevin that grew up out here in Massachusetts, just a legendary dude. Him and his family helped me out when I started All I Need. His mom had a skate shop. They were like one of the first shops to carry All I Need t-shirts. And Kevin was just this little kid, and I just kept in touch with him, and now he's pro for World shredding.
That's good.
Yeah.
I think I told you I almost skated for World, but I didn't. But yeah.
Yeah. How was tell me about that.
It just almost happened, and I changed my mind. I ended up leaving stereo because the opportunity World was going to give me was just so huge, and I had a chat with Greg about it, and they were like, okay, go for it. And then I just didn't do it because the person who was trying to get me to do it quit, the CEO quit, and the TM quit.
Oh
And I
man.
guess they were going to hire a new CEO who worked at Huffy Bikes and basically like chopped up the company and then like was selling it. He was known to do that, like chop up, like, not, I guess you wouldn't say chop up the company, but he was known to sell the products to like Walmarts and Kmart's and things like that.
Yeah.
And when I realized, like, oh, like the three people who were there are not there, and now they're going to go in that direction, I didn't do it. So
Yeah.
yeah, I didn't do it, but yeah.
Yeah. I World turned me pro. No, I first they're the gave me my first pro board. And when I ended up riding for him, it was because Charlie Thomas and
Yeah.
RP Best were working there, and they were just legends, you know. Like Charlie's the raddest human, and RP the nicest dude, you know. And he used to work for Duff's, and
Yeah.
that's what like convinced me to end up riding for them because they weren't even like cool then because it was after all that Walmart stuff, you know, and those guys were trying to
Yeah.
bring back World, you know.
Yeah.
Uh, but yeah, those guys blessed me with that. That was
Well, I think World is it's a great accomplishment to have a pro board through them. World Industries is my book, they're huge.
yeah.
And I don't mean huge as in like a big profitable company, but just the history that they have.
30 years of just like awesome. There's
Yeah.
so many people that have been
Yeah.
involved with it. It's insane. It's quite the
Yeah.
legacy, dude.
Yeah.
World
So it's
just
something to
never
be
ends.
proud of for sure.
Yeah, yeah. And I was really stoked that they were wanting to bring it back. Like Andrew Cannon was super hyped on it, and I loved it. I love Andrew, and Mike Franklin was involved, and we just built like a six squad. And the way we were able to do it was we were selling like footwear to like these family chain stores across the Midwest. Basically, they buy World
Mhm.
footwear, you know, and that would help fund the skate programs because we were trying to like get the decks going in different core shops, and they were really proactive doing cool stuff. Like we did a
Nice.
keep a keep abreast collab with World Shoes. That was like really cool. We did like a lot of really fun stuff. I mean, we got a tour a lot because of that. It was like eight. I think I rode for him for like 8 years. It was like the best time for sure,
I
man.
didn't know that. That's a long time.
Yeah, it was a long time for sure. Those guys were the best. They like knew all I wanted. I was kind of like you. I just wanted to film and skate and stack content. Like my whole life was just battling tricks and trying to do things I didn't think I could do. And like, I'm a bit of a dreamer too, bro.
Yeah, I was
Bro.
watching some of your videos. I think you had really good flick. I like your nollie flips.
Thank you, thank you.
Yeah.
Worked on them for hours for sure, on flat ground for days and days. Skating for
Yeah.
me was like therapy too, because that's how I worked through all my broken family issues. Was I just skated a lot, and then I met a lot of cool people through skating that like helped fill those missing characters in my life, and like kind of like skating helped make me whole again because of the whole more than just the tricks, you know, like just the
Yeah.
that's that side of skating. Like RP and Charlie helped me out a lot. Those guys were so cool. I'd be lost
Are
without
you
those.
are you still like skating a lot now?
I am, but I do have like my knee. I tore my ACL and I never got it fixed, so
Uh,
I muscled through it, and I can still skate, but like I don't want to jump down big stuff, you know. Like
oh yeah, yeah. You
I
have to
gotta
be
pick
careful.
yeah, I pick and choose what I want to do, but like I run, you know, all I need in world, and then I have this. I bought a minivan just because I was like forced me to go on more skate trips, and I teach skateboard lessons. I used to teach them more than I do now, but all my skateboard lessons they all got really good, and they're like my flow team. So I take them all in the van. We go to new skate parks. I end up
Yeah,
being
that's
the
awesome.
film. Yeah, I do a lot of the filming and driving these days, and I'll try to get a trick in if the hype's right and they egg me on, you know. But
Yeah,
like,
yeah, yeah.
yeah, I'm mostly
Cool,
like
man. I think that's the dream. You're living the dream.
Oh, fuck yeah, man. I was in the warehouse all day today pressing skateboards, like pressing the graphics on skateboards and boxing stuff up and processing orders and like running a skateboard brand. And then I have like two skate teams basically. I have a flow team and then I have pros on my team. And then I have like one AM and he's never been a part of a video premiere, like had a part in a video. So like he's sparked to do that. So I was like, that's how we're gonna make the next video. It's like Jacob's got to work on a gnarly part, and then everyone else can build around that, you know. So that's what we're working on now. Yeah,
That's
I'm fully submerged in skating, but I just have to pick and choose, and like I can't skate as much as I'd like, you know, because I don't want to destroy myself or have like some gnarly injury.
Mhm,
But I take
mhm.
care of my body and I eat well, and like I I smoke weed for pain management occasionally. Keeps
Yeah.
me loose a little bit, you know.
I used to smoke a lot. I don't anymore. But the last few years at Apple, I did because I was trying to maintain. But
Yeah.
it's been a couple of years. I don't do it anymore. But yeah.
Yeah. I feel like the goal is to be like, if I feel like the goal in life is to be okay with just being sober and in your present moment, in your present life. And if
Mhm.
you can do that, then I could enjoy drugs. Cause like when I was younger, I stayed away from weed and alcohol because I like saw people that were train wrecks. So I was like scared to do it. And I was emotionally unstable and just had my own, I didn't have my thoughts under control. So that would have amplified it so much. So for so long in my life, I denied all that stuff. And then
Mhm.
when I got a little older, when I was like mid 20s, no, maybe even closer to 30, I started smoking weed because I had vertigo and it fucked me up so bad and it just
Oh
lingered
yeah, yeah,
for
yeah. I read
like
that.
6 months. Yeah, and then my friend was like, smoke a little weed, and then it did exactly what you were describing, where it was like they wiped the lens off and everything was vibrant again. Because I had this
Mhm.
like 6 months haze of just having vertigo and not being able to do shit, and then I smoked a little weed, just a little bit, and it like everything got like super HD, and they wiped the lens, and I felt like I beat it because of that, you know? It was at the
Mhm.
tail end, but it's one of those things that just if you've ever had it, it just lingers like a concussion. It just lingers and lingers and lingers, and you're like, is this ever
Yeah,
gonna go away? When will I ever
yeah.
be 100%? You know? And then I got into smoking weed, and now I like I dialed it back a lot. I just if I podcast or if I skate, and then you just gotta have moderation, you know?
Yeah. Um, I've never had vertigo, but when I did do it, it did help me too, and it helped me through the stress that I was having, just just trying to be a father and keep a full-time job and be a good husband. It was like just all that pressure, but it totally helped until one day I realized, oh, I have to chill out on it because I was doing it for a few years, you know.
Yeah, sometimes you get lazy or sloppy or it becomes a crutch for your
Mhm.
mood, for your mood. Same with even coffee. I like managed to cut coffee out for the most part. I used to drink
Mhm.
coffee every day as just like my routine to like, and then I realized when I stopped having caffeine or coffees just for one day, I'd have these horrible headaches for like
Mhm.
3 days when I'd try to kick it. And I'm like, that can't be good. So now I only drink coffee like once a week if I remember to get like if I'm at Cracker Barrel basically, I'll get like a hot cup of
Yeah,
coffee, you know?
yeah,
That was like a crutch for me. Just like weed can become a crutch. Even being just sober all the time can be too much of a crutch like cuz then you could just not be able to relate to most of the world that's not always sober, you know? Like if you're just always in a
yeah,
box, you're like I'm in a box and I can't relate to anyone. That
yeah.
can't be good for you either. Like having different perspectives is good. Be able to look at
Mhm.
things. There's nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah, and drinking, I never like I drank a little bit, but I never got too out of control with drinking, which I'm lucky because that one gets people.
Yeah, I was out of control when I was 21 for sure. I was fully out of control. But that was a long time ago.
Yeah, yeah, totally, man. All right, let's go back to this, dude. It's already almost 9 o'clock. All right, we're gonna do a little more, and then we're gonna have to do a part two for sure if you're down.
Yeah, man, I'm almost thinking like we need to just do it and we need to scratch this whole thing and do a whole nother one and start from the beginning because I feel like I need to figure out a way to like condense my answers.
Oh no, this is perfect podcast. This was amazing. This is just we have to do a part two because it's like there's a lot to the story, you know.
Yeah, I'm
Um
gonna give 3-word answers from here on out. Keep it
and
short.
and we should do a podcast where we don't even talk about skateboarding because I could talk to you about pretty much
Other
anything.
stuff. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
that
All right.
podcast.
What
I
other
love.
questions do you have?
I
What do
love.
you want to know?
All right, I love podcasts because it's like I listen to a lot of them when I'm like pressing decks and stuff. Like
Yeah.
comedians are like some of my best friends, and all they're talking
Oh
about
yeah,
is
yeah,
dick
yeah.
jokes. You know, I'm like, these guys are hilarious. Okay, so you have two kids, you said, right?
Yeah.
That's amazing, man. Congrats. That's so
They're
cool.
9 and 11. Phoenix and Alistair. Those are their names.
Those are awesome names, dude.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
so cool. Do they skate at all?
Mm-mm.
No skating?
Nah, they're just like doing their own thing. Phoenix loves to read a lot. They play Legos, they play Switches. That's pretty much it. I mean, they've had skateboards and bikes. They just don't really care.
Yeah. They'll
Yeah.
maybe at some point they'll be like, get on it, you know? Who knows?
Yeah, I don't even know. My goal as a dad is just to whatever they end up falling in love with and want to do all the time. Like I got to figure out a way to support that habit for them, whatever that is. I have no idea. They're still too young. So like right now, like they like Legos. So like here's like some Tron Legos that they built recently that they got for Christmas. Um,
That's
these are
sick.
these are really sick. And then as you can see, I got the DeLorean back there. I got Mandalorian, Mandalorian. That's funny. But yeah, so they're really into Legos, and I love chess. I got my chessboard right here. I
Yeah.
absolutely love chess. I play it all the time on my phone. But anyway, yeah. So that's what's up with the kids.
That's awesome. Yeah, hopefully they'll find something and you can kind of like maybe walk them through it like someone should have done for you with skateboarding, you know? Like you could be the
Oh
supportive
yeah.
person for them, you
I'm,
know?
I'm already like so kids, these are stocks. This is what stocks mean, you know. Or
Nice.
it's like so you can write your own book now. We have this app, so it's like, dude, I'm like trying to, hey, do you want to learn to code? You could make your own game. Like they're like,
Yeah.
no, dad.
At some point they'll get interested, man. They're too young.
Yeah, yeah.
All right, so let's see. Oh, uh you got to skate with Bastion and Jard a lot. How'd you line that one up?
My friend Tim Martinez, I don't know how he connected with them. That company's from Spain. He was
Yeah.
just like, hey, like these guys kind of are into your skating. Do you want to go skate with them? And I said, yeah. And this was in 2009 when I kind of came back skating again because it was like '07 and '09 after the ceiling ride or whatever. Um, so they just put me on the team and Bastion was on the team. And then I got to kind of skate with Bastion and kind of pick his brain a little bit about like I kind of overheard him talking a little bit about flip and stuff like that. Nothing that I can really remember. But every skateboarder has a story or something that is deep for them and that they're expressing. So, and I could tell that was like a moment for him when he was talking about it in the van or whatever, but I don't have specific details on it. But anyway, yeah, we became friends and, uh, uh, I know I hit him up on Instagram sometimes and I've seen him play guitar live and he is so good at guitar. It's
Oh, what?
unbelievable,
That's sick.
unbelievably good. Stevie Ray Vaughan's his favorite guitar player. Um, but yeah, it was interesting skating with him. I mean, for me personally, my knee didn't feel right. So when I skated, it was like I was a shell of myself. But when I would go to spots with him, he was very, very uh, like he'd stay in the van if we were at a spot. But then, like if he wanted to do something, he would go out and he would do it, and then you just go back in the van. Like like it wasn't like he'd skate the spot, get warmed up, do tricks, skate around, and then we'd all get back in the van. He was just super methodical. Like,
Whoa.
okay, I want to, double flip front board this handrail. He'd get out of the van and then he would go do it and then just do it and then go back in the van and just wait for us.
That's fucking wild.
Yeah. He didn't care. I
He's
was totally fine.
yeah. Was he just in his own world, maybe?
No, I don't even think it was that. I just think he just knew what he wanted. Like
Yeah.
he just wanted to chill and relax. And who knows, maybe he had his phone or a headset, and he was just really wanted to hear that and he didn't mind letting us go skate. Because to be honest with you, he was that good that he could do that, where
Yeah.
he knew like all of us, we needed to like dick around for a while,
Yeah.
and have
I
our
can
time to film and shoot. And if he was there, he would probably take that attention. So I look at it like more from that perspective, like he was helping us.
Yeah, yeah. I can relate to needing warm-ups nowadays, dude. It's like an hour
Yeah.
warm-up before I can ollie, basically.
Yeah, it's weird. Me too.
When's the last time you skated?
Months ago, maybe a few months ago, I tried to do a switch 180, a switch nollie, or a nollie 180 to switch back 50-50 on a ledge, and I landed with my knees a little like straight on the
Yeah.
ledge, and because of that, it pitched me. And when I was in the air, I tried to catch myself, and I tried to put my hand on the ledge, missed the ledge,
Oh,
and like I think I literally fractured these like two bones right here,
oh,
and
dude.
it was insane. Like I stood up and I was seeing white flies. Then my vision went completely white. I was blind for a minute, and then my legs got weak and I couldn't stand and I had to sit. I literally thought I was going to have a heart attack.
Oh,
And
gnarly.
the guy next to me was like, "Hey, are you okay?" And I was like, "I don't think so." I was like, "I feel really weird." And he's like, "Bro, let me get you some water." Just give me some water. So he gave me water, and then all of a sudden my vision came back and my legs, but I was like shaking, and I
Oh,
still
gnarly.
had to drive home. And I was just standing there while everyone was skating, and I was like, "Yeah, I don't think I can skate anymore." And then like I was like, "I think I gotta go home." And I got in the car and I drove, but it was like super sketchy driving home. Like I shouldn't have drove.
Yeah, dude,
That
brutal.
was, that was the last time I skated. And then before that, I randomly filmed a crooked grind nollie flip out and filmed it really quick. My brother filmed it, and that was like a complete like freak accident, because when I was in California, I was trying to learn that trick, and I tried it probably 5 different sessions, tried it for an hour each time, and could never land it. But then I filmed it with my brother in probably like a few tries, and if you watch the video on my Instagram, I make this face afterwards, but it's literally because I'm shocked that I did it, because I had tried it so many times before and never did it.
That's
Um,
sick.
yeah, but anyway, that's pretty much it. I'll always roll around and skate. I'm waiting for my hand to heal.
Yeah. You're gonna have to skate some mini ramp, dude. Mini ramp's the key. Skate from the
That shit
bottom.
scares me, dude. Mini scares me.
Even you gotta start on the small one, like a 4 foot, and just start from the bottom, pump your way up, you know?
I'm not a fish in water on a ramp. I'm purely street. So on a ramp, I'm like 50-50 tail slide, front 50-50 blunt fakie. And anything after that, I have to skate the ramp every day for like a few weeks, like every day, to get really comfortable. And then I'll just start to open up on it.
Yeah.
But yeah. So anyway, I don't know.
I live near this skate park. It's called Skater's Edge, and it's probably the most sickest park in the Northeast for sure. And it's 30,000 square foot indoor park, and it's basically like three parks in one. But
Mm.
I go there and I can just, for my warm up, I just walk in the door, I go left and I skate down the hallway and I go all the way down back. I go over the A-frame, kick turn, then I come back over the A-frame, all the way down the hallway, got a straight away down the fucking skate park, fast as I can go, carve out. Then you go out into the big section and it's like hips and quarter pipes and pyramids. I don't even have to do one trick. I can skate around that place for a half an hour before I've even ollied. It's like the best warm up. That's like some days I just go do that because I'm like I can't even really ollie. My legs are too tired from working and whatnot. But or
Yeah.
or what's cool about it too is that especially in the winter because we get gnarly winters. Although this winter's been pretty nice. Um, you go there and there's so many people because I'm in New England, so it's all these states are so close and everyone comes from different states. So I go and I'll just watch like so many different styles of skaters and approaches, and like you could just go there and watch people skate for hours. It's the fucking
Hmm.
best. I do a lot of
Yeah.
that because I'm trying not to skate, so I'll just go watch or film sniper angles,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
distract
Well, that
myself.
sounds fun. That sounds
Yeah,
fun.
you distract yourself from actually skating by just watching skating in person. It's the best,
Yeah.
man. Hell yeah, Danny. Well, thanks for doing this, man. I really appreciate it. This was awesome. I'm really stoked that I got to meet you, and I always loved your skating. So just like, and I saw what you did in skating. Like, I went to SF2 when I was younger, and I met those guys, and it might have been after you. So like, um, I saw what you did in skating. It was fucking. You put your thumbprint right on it, man. So I hope you're proud of that because made an impact on me, man.
Man, I appreciate you, and I appreciate you, wanting to chat with me for your podcast, All I Need podcast. And thanks to, Tim McKinney for setting this up. Me and Tim go way back. I
Oh,
love the guy.
Tim's the man, and he wanted me to ask you. He wanted me to ask you
Okay.
something. All right, I have
Yeah,
it.
okay.
I don't want to forget. He said, "Ask him what happened with his stomach. If it's the same thing Chico went to Nicaragua to get surgery for. Always wanted to know."
Oh
Yeah,
my God.
right when you
So,
thought it was over, we're back, baby.
oh man. So when I was 7 days old, I was regurgitating my food. I was basically blue. And my mom took me to a ton of doctors. And finally, one doctor figured out that I wasn't processing my food. So they had to make an incision across my stomach, and it went as a baby. It went all the way through the front, and it even almost went around to the backside. They had to completely open up my intestines, and they found that my intestines was tied up, and it was basically knotted. So they had to unknot it, and then basically from there forward, I could swallow my food and it could process out. But when they did my stitching, they stitched it super crazy because this was like 1978, bro. It was like the stitch was like a freaking football stitch
Oh my
on a
God.
baby. So now, like if you look at my stomach, it's like the scar is probably like this long, and it's got these dots, right? And and just to kind of finish up there, I remember I used to walk around the neighborhood when I was like 6 years old, and my shirt was off and all the other shirts were off. And my mom one day pulled me aside, and this is one of those scarring moments, and she unknowingly did this, but she's like, "Hey, why do you have your shirt off?" And I go, "Everyone has their shirt off. It's hot outside." She's like, "Yeah, but you're different." And I go, "Well, what do you mean?" You have a scar on your stomach. And I go, "Yeah, I know." She goes, "But you're different. You should have a shirt on because so people don't see your scar." And it changed my mindset. So all the way up and through high school, I didn't let anybody see the scar on my stomach because I was totally ashamed of it. And then when I turned 19 or 18 and I was sponsored, I wanted to get a tattoo to cover it. And I got this is just dumb. I wish I didn't have or wouldn't have done this, but I was like, well, what am I gonna tattoo that's I'm not gonna get old of, Like I can't put a dragon because one day I'm gonna get tired of the dragon. So I was like, oh, I got it. I'll put my last name. That's never gonna change. So I did my last name across the scar. And then I did it in the Thrasher font because Thrasher is just like a ginormous staple in skateboarding, and it's just like go hard, skate, destroy. So love Thrasher, did that, put it on there. And so that's really the answer as to my scar. And other than that, I just want to say, some people were like, "Oh, you should tell people you got like bit by a shark." And I'll say one more thing about it. This photographer, Jeff Kula, was doing a Big Brother interview with me. And when we were done, I guess like Big Brother magazine said they wanted a photo of my scar with my name on it. I guess they wanted to run that as like the main photo. And I was against it. Like I told him so many times, no, 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 no. And one day we were at the beach and he's like, again, this is a young person just getting, the wool pulling over his eyes or whatever. But he's like, come on, just one photo, just one photo. And I was like, fine, one photo. And we took like so many other photos for a cover shot. And that one photo they ended up running for the Big Brother spread. And I hate it till this day because it's just one big photo of me standing there with the camera looking up, and I'm looking down at the camera and you see my name and my belly and all that. And till this day, like, hey, that was not my freaking idea. I freaking
It sounds kind of sick. I'm not gonna lie, that sounds kind of sick to me. Thrasher font, your last name, you're standing there chilling.
Well, some people told me that. Some people told me that after they saw it. Just like the opinion. They're like, oh, it's one of my favorite video parts. But in my mind, I'm like, oh, I didn't get to go really hard on that one. I don't like it that much, but everyone has their own like a perspective of what they see on the outside. So anyway, I think we've been going at it for a couple of hours. Maybe you could just take this podcast and split it in half.
Maybe we'll just keep the whole thing, because that's
way.
The beauty about podcasts is it saves your spot. So if you listen for 30 minutes, you got an hour. That's why I love podcasts, because I love long form conversations, and I listen to like 3-hour lectures. I'll listen to like,
that's crazy,
20 hours if they have them. Like I love like long audio books and stuff. As long as it saves your spot, I can pick back up. But like, that's why I do the podcast. Yeah,
that's true. I just look at like the 9 Club. They'll have like 3 to 5 hour sessions.
Yeah,
and sometimes I'm like, it's hard for me to like go through the whole 4-hour conversation. That's why I was like, oh, maybe we should split this one so that way it's like not so long.
Yeah, I think it's awesome the way it is, but maybe we will.
All right. Hey,
either way, either way, I appreciate it, because like I feel like this is 3 hours with you, and then we give it some time, and then there'll be another one, and then it's like you get people in doses, I love this format. But yeah, thank you, dude. Super, thank you. Appreciate this.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I really enjoyed talking to you and hearing your stories.
And this is the All I Need Skate podcast. If you enjoy the podcast, please let us know by subscribing, liking, and sharing an episode.
Hello, friends. Welcome back to the show. Each and every episode is brought to you by All I Need. We are a growing skateboard company focused on supporting our skate team. Our decks are 7-ply Canadian maple made right here in the USA. If you enjoy this show and would like to help support it, the best way to do that is to skate one of our decks. If you see an All I Need deck at your local skate shop, swoop it up and shred it. If you don't live near a skate shop, don't worry, we have you covered at ALLiNEEDSKATE.com. Something new to the online store is our script pullover hoodie. It comes in 3 colorways. We have black, navy, and maroon, and sizes small through 2XL. And again, check out all our skateboards and apparel at ALLiNEEDSKATE.com. This episode is brought to you by Scooch. Scooch makes the world's most functional Apple and Samsung phone cases. If you're like me and film a lot of skating on your phone, I'd suggest purchasing the Wingman case. It has an epic pop-out kickstand handle that is great for filming skating. Please make sure to use our affiliate link, scoochcase.com/allineed. I'd like to give a shout out to the always epic Tim McKenney for helping connect me with Danny and making this episode possible. This is the first episode of 2023. I love you motherfuckers, and I'm grateful to be here and now with you. Our guest today is the legendary Danny Gonzalez. In this episode, we discuss his early influences with freestyle skating, his early days in San Francisco, his ups and downs with sponsorships, which include Stereo, Chapman, Globe, how he dealt with knee and ankle injuries. We discussed the mission to Wallenberg to get that first try kickflip melon grab. We also talked about his experience in Scientology and acting, and much, much more.